Hello, my name is Diane, and I'm an admissions representative with Kansas State University Online. I want to start by thanking everyone for joining us tonight to learn more about our personal financial planning graduate programs. I'm joined by the department head, Dr. Martin C., and graduate program advisor, Morgan Graham. Dr. C and Morgan are going to spend roughly the next 30 minutes giving us a presentation about this program, and we'll spend the last 10 to 15 minutes answering questions. Throughout the duration of this presentation, we will be monitoring the chat feature and answering questions as they're being asked. Some of your questions may be saved until the end for Dr. C and Morgan to answer. And if you could just take a minute to locate your chat feature and answer the question you see on your screen, as we would love to learn a little bit more about you. And as those chats are coming in, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. C and Morgan.
Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us tonight. I know it's a busy life, a lot going on, and we really do appreciate you investing some time to learn a little bit more about our program. And also we appreciate your interest in Kansas State overall. I'm a dad myself, and I just know there's so much going on in your lives. So once again, thank you for joining us. My name is Martin C. I'm the department head of personal financial planning, and I'm joined today by Morgan Graham, who is our graduate program advisor. Morgan, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Yeah, thanks, Martin. Hi, everybody. I'm looking through the participant list and I already see some names on there. Some of y'all that I've already spoken to. So I'm so glad that you're here joining us tonight. And hopefully we can answer all your questions that you have about K-State.
Awesome. So what we're going to do tonight is talk a little bit about how we view financial planning as a practice and as a curriculum. And then what we're going to do is we're going to talk about our specific program. But I think it's really important for those of you that are interested in the program to understand how we think about financial planning, how we think about delivering value to our clients. Diane, there's a note that maybe the chat isn't open. I don't know if you see that to fix that, but thanks, Diane. So as we think about financial planning, we start by thinking about if you could imagine the perfect profession that would meet all of your needs, what are things that you might want to do? And so some people would say, hey, I would really love to have a profession where I can help people, right? We have this passion to help people do better in their lives and have that positive impact on the community. And so that's one element, I think, of a dream profession. But wouldn't it be awesome if you could help people and also have the opportunity to receive a high income that's commensurate with the service that you're providing to your clients? That would be awesome. But what about if there was also a job where you had high flexibility? And the reality is flexibility is so important to us in our busy lives and as we're managing family and other commitments. But if this magical dream profession existed where you could help people have an impact, you could earn a wage to support your family, and you have this flexibility, those jobs couldn't exist, right? It would have to be really hard to get them. Well, the good news in financial planning right now is all of these elements exist, and there are so many more jobs out there than there are applicants to fill them. And we're also really excited as we move into this profession, as we're seeing the profession move forward, and we're seeing people go back for higher expertise. So I know we'll have some individuals in here that are already CFPs or that are already financial planners and are looking for that added push. And we offer that here at K-State, one of the few in the country that's really targeted advanced financial planning content for those existing CFPs out there. So I'm an academic. You're thinking I'm going to school, so I apologize, but I have to give you a definition. And this is the definition of financial planning as set forth by the CFP board. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to talk you through it. So it's a collaborative process that helps maximize a client's potential for meeting life goals through financial advice that integrates relevant elements of a client's personal and financial circumstances. To me, some of these jump out as being important. I think the most important word in here is collaborative. So gone are the days where you're the sage sitting behind a desk and telling somebody what it is that they need to do. Because the reality is that doesn't work. If the client's not bought in and it's not a collaborative process, you can be the smartest planner in the world, but the client's not actually going to follow that. So as we think about financial planning, we think about moving forward. It's a collaborative process. We talk about being on the same side of the table as your client. And then maximize a client's potential for meeting life goals. Two things are important here. So one, those life goals are going to be very unique to an individual client. And it's going to be your job as a financial planner to have those conversations to where you really understand what your client wants to accomplish. The reality is that the technical elements are often very similar between clients, but those unique personal goals are what really helps you add value to those clients and create that connection. The other thing that I think is important is, so what's the outcome of financial planning? It's helping maximize a client's potential for meeting those goals. It's not necessarily the highest investment return. It's not really trying to just create money for money's sake. It's about understanding how to create a scenario where those client can meet those goals. And then integrating relevant elements of the client's personal and financial circumstance. That just goes to show you that everybody is unique. They have their own goals, but they also come with their own set of financial opportunities and challenges as we go through them. So when we think about financial planning, really what we think about is this puzzle piece, right? That you're working with a client to understand what that picture should be. And then as you understand that picture, which is driven by their goals, your job is to help lay those puzzle pieces into place. Your job is to understand that picture and allow them and provide them the expertise they need to move forward. But the other really interesting thing about financial planning is that picture can change year to year. It can change day to day based off of life events. So it's called planning, not financial plan, as you work to understand how the client's goals change over time. One of the things that I think is important is financial planning is really pretty equivalent to lifestyle design. Okay. It's really interesting if financial planners actually drive more value to their clients for the things they stop them from doing, oftentimes, than advice they get them to do, right? It's the client that wants to pull out in a down market. If they do so, even though they have a long-term goals, they will miss that upturn. Okay, so a huge part of what financial planning is giving solid financial advice, but it's also helping manage clients' emotions, helping manage the panic that they have, the stress that they have, the destructive behaviors that we all have related to finance, and helping manage those to help them reach where they want to go. So opportunity here, your job is to provide a client organization, to provide them the confidence, and to provide them accountability for them to follow through on the advice that you're giving them. Okay, so once again, financial planning is half art, half science, and sometimes it's a lot more than half art, and sometimes it's a lot more than half science. But you have to understand, if we're going to be a financial planner in today and age, we've got to embrace both sides of those elements. So I won't go too much into this. I will say, if you're interested in this, there is on YouTube the 12 Tribes of Financial Planning, and you can hear a lot more of this. This was what we designed with a couple of professors from across the country to help understand the different types of jobs in financial planning. And the reality is there's so many different jobs that are right for so many different people with so many different personalities and at very different life stages in their lives and what they can afford to do. So as we look at the top left here, this is really where financial planning came from. Really, financial planning started in insurance and sort of evolved to encompass more and more elements. As you go to these, you see the wirehouse brokers, which is your Merrills of the world. This is your UBSs of the world. The property and casualty multi-line agency, which is going to be your State Farm, those places locally that are providing car insurance, home insurance, things like that. Your life and disability insurance, which is going to be your Northwestern Mutual, your New York Life. And then the evolution is going to be those franchise and independent broker dealers. These are sort of the old standard in financial planning. Huge amount of jobs there. Oftentimes these roles are going to be at large firms that have high name recognition. And oftentimes if you go in to be an advisor, you're going to be an entrepreneur creating your own business. And I view this as high risk, high reward. Okay, there's opportunities to make a lot of money here, but you're solely dependent on your ability to drive clients. They're evolving now. There are so many of these firms that are hiring planners that are first bringing their technical skills and then are growing to be advisors. But that's sort of where financial planning has started and continues to exist today. As you move to the right, we're looking at where financial planning is really going through an evolution, and that is in the franchise independent broker dealer space, that is in the RIA space, and that is the accounting and tax RIA space. And so in this space, typically you're going to have more individual planners that are existing at typically smaller firms that are oftentimes going to have a lot more firm support in supporting an individual client. You're going to have more of a team approach than an individual approach. And these positions usually are not based on you go and necessarily starting to build your book from scratch. Oftentimes these are more career paths, they're more salaried, so you go as the firm goes, but oftentimes these are smaller firms, less name recognition, But realistically, these are where programs are growing fantastically is in this space. And then the other side of this is financial counseling. And then if you want to be an egghead like me, government research and academics. At the bottom is where we're seeing a lot of tech and a lot of evolution in this space. So robo-advisors are growing. Now, even robo-advisors are completely robotic. They're hiring CFPs at an incredible rate because they can use robos for the basic stuff, but they are layering on human advice as you get to more complex units. Banking, credit union, trust companies. The highest growth that we're seeing from firms that are interested in Kansas State is in the bank, credit union, and trust company space. And these are old models where it's kind of good because they have a set customer base. You don't necessarily have to go make customers. You have a natural base as you're trying to grow your business. This is, I think, they are realizing they've missed the wealth management movement, and they are coming along fast. Discount brokerage. So today at Kansas State, Vanguard is here. Vanguard would be a discount brokerage. Fidelity would be a discount brokerage. And these places are oftentimes going to provide a whole host of services to clients, usually at a lower cost, and usually are going to be a little bit more investment focused than full financial planning. And you get to product distribution, and these are the folks that go out to advisors and help provide products that they can use to sell to clients. So long story short, and if you're interested, we can talk more about this. And I saw Morgan put it in the chat, but there are so many opportunities here based off of what you want to do. And if you choose to come to K-State, I think what you really have to think about is what is it that you want to accomplish? And we can absolutely be here to help you as you get to know your strengths, your weaknesses. I know many of you are actually already in the industry, and that's fantastic. We love those because they, one, can bring the real world to the table, and also they can help students that are trying to figure out what they want to do. They can provide that background and experience. So what does a career path look like? This is from our good friend Michael Kitsis over at kitsis.com. And this is really where we're seeing transitions into career paths, more like the law firm model, more like the accounting firm model. So what we're seeing, and this is particularly out of undergraduate programs, but it does relate to what some folks are doing out of master's programs, is that at the base level, people are being hired for their competency, for their technical skills. And these folks don't necessarily drive client relationships, but they build the plans and they support the clients and the lead advisors as they're working with those. And usually this competency range can be from 1 year to 5 years, depending on the firm. The next step, you go from competency to just being able to provide advice to leadership. And these folks oftentimes will manage client relationships. They may or may not have sales responsibility, but they will be the person day to day who the client will call when they need advice and when they need things to happen. Here you go to business management and client management as you become the person that the clients want to talk to. As you move forward, move it to a senior advisor, which is more of a business development role. And this role is absolutely about networking and pulling people into the business. One of the things in financial planning, sometimes people say sales is a bad word, and I don't think it is, because no matter if you ever sell a product or not, you have to get a client to rely on you. You've got to get a client to trust you, and you've got to get a client to follow through on your advice. And that's sales. That's absolutely sales, getting a client to follow your advice. So as you move to a senior advisor, you become in charge of locating and supporting clients and making sure clients understand the value of your firm. And then as you move forward, you would move to management or partnership. And this is where you become a managing partner of the firm. And oftentimes less client focused and more business execution focused. Not all tracks are looking like this, but I would say more and more we're seeing firms that are adopting tracks similar to this. So what does it pay? So this is from 2017, once again, from our friend kitsis.com, from an investment new advisor compensation survey. And what this says, and our graduates line up with this, depending on where you are in the country, is that for average year of 4 year of experience, a paraplanner is making about $65,000. As you start being a service advisor, the average salary 8 years in is $94,000. Lead advisors after 18 years at $165,000. And that can be conservative. We have a lot of folks that are much more than that. And a practicing partner, the wealth goes up considerably. What you will see is as you go up that scale, the amount of your compensation that's from incentive goes up considerably. So oftentimes as you go, your salary may be based off of the amount of money that you're managing, and your incentives may be off the amount of money that you pull to the firm in any given year. So So just wanted to start real quick with giving an overview of the industry and really how we view financial planning growing as we move forward in the industry. So now about K-State. So we're excited you're here. So K-State has been around as a CFP board registered program since about 1992, 94, depending on who you ask. So we're one of the oldest programs in the country. And we're really proud of what we do. We are a full department in financial planning, really focused on how do we develop and train students to meet the needs of the current environment. So as we look around, we have 5 graduate level programs. We're going to talk to you about 4 of those today. So the first is the Personal Financial Planning Graduate Certificate. And this is designed really to meet the needs of individuals that want to sit for the CFP exam. Okay, so this could be an advisor that's coming back and wants the CFP, or somebody that's looking to get into the space and needs that education. I will say, if you're in the industry, you know the value of the CFP. If you're just starting to get in, if you can pass the CFP exam, you become so marketable for firms. There are already jobs everywhere, but if you can pass the CFP exam, it is incredibly easy to get a job. We view that as the baseline, right? So this is the baseline competency level to be a CFP, but where I think the major value add and why K-State is what we layer on top of that. So the first is our Financial Therapy Graduate Certificate program. And I view this as really our client psychology, our behavioral, like why do students or why do clients make the decisions that they make? Why don't they follow advice? Why do they think about money differently than you? I often think about money scripts as I relate with my wife, because we have very different beliefs on money, and her beliefs aren't necessarily wrong, but they're very different than me. And it's very frustrating that they're different than me. And that's what we talk about here is how do people think about money? What's their relationship with money? And more importantly, we're sitting across from a client and they're doing these things. Can we understand why they're doing it? And how can we help shape our communication and our advice to get them to move forward? So this is really focused on the intersection of behavioral finance, client psychology, and really marriage and family therapy as we move forward. So one of our key faculty there is Dr. Megan McCoy and Dr. Megan Lertz. And McCoy is a licensed marriage and family therapist, and Megan McCoy is a past president of the Financial Therapy Association. So really top talent there to help support that side of it. Second part is the Advanced Financial Planning Graduate Certificate. And this is basically applied technical content beyond the CFP. The reality is for the CFP content, there's so much memorization and technical details. You don't actually get to applications in real world scenarios and with specialized clients. So as you go to the Advanced Financial Planning Graduate Certificate, you're going to be getting applied scenarios that you can actually use and strategies that you can actually use with clients. And one of our major instructors there is Derek Cincinnig. He's actually joining us today in the audience. And for that, we have seasoned practitioners that have practiced for a decade or more that will be teaching that content to you and really trying to provide you targeted technical insights and strategies that you can use with clients. So there's 3 graduate certificates. You wrap 2 up and all of a sudden you've got a master's degree. So for the master's degree, that's going to be 30 credit hours. And Morgan will talk to you a little bit more about that. But long story short, you pick 2 tracks that are related to a graduate certificate and that will wrap into the master's. We also have a doctoral degree. We won't spend a lot of time on that today. If you have questions, I'll be glad to answer them, but we are going to be doing a webinar. Morgan, what's the date? Is it October 18th?
Correct.
October 18th, for those of you that are interested in the doctoral degree program. Morgan will be there, as well as Stu Heckman, Dr. Heckman, who is the head of the PhD program. So just real quick, I talked about this, but I'll finish with it. The Financial Therapy Certificate is client-centered training that helps you serve your clients better, provides insight into client psyche and individual perspectives on money, and then practical insight into techniques and strategies to drive clients to actions that align with their goals. I will admit it's interesting as we go across the country. In some ways, some of the other programs are surprised we're so applied, but that is the heart of what we are. We're in Kansas, we're a workman school. We want to provide you applied. We don't need ivory tower stuff. We need to provide you stuff that can help you serve your clients better. And then on the advanced planning side, it's targeted technical content to better evaluate and determine client recommendations, advanced estate, advanced retirement, advanced tax, and practice management. And once again, builds upon CFP content to provide practical insight into complex client scenarios. So Morgan, with that, I will turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Martin. So, all right. So why K-State, right? There are a lot of options out there. there's a lot of registered programs. There's a lot of ways to go for your CFP certification. There's a lot of ways to go for a master's degree. So why K-State? K-State, I can just tell you right now, I was a K-State student. I did my master's through K-State online. Now obviously working full-time for K-State, and K-State is just, it's an institution like no other. It's a university like no other. There is just, no matter who you encounter here, be it online, be it in person, it is really a community that is out to support you. Being a distance student, sometimes it's really easy to feel disengaged, to not really feel like you're part of that community. But even in the online space, with K-State Online, with Global, with the personal financial planning department, you really have a team of people here to support you. So that does include our faculty. So the faculty within PFP, they understand that you are coming into your courses, probably working full-time, may or may not have a family that you're responsible for, and that you're juggling your time with. You've got life, you've got things going on. And so your faculty understand that. And so they're committed to creating a learning environment where you can still be successful in your courses while balancing all of those priorities that you have. But they're also just committed to what they are teaching. So Martin was telling you about a few of our instructors. We've got Dr. Lertz, Dr. McCoy, Dr. Simpsonig, who we're so glad to have with us tonight and on our faculty team. We've got a lot of individuals, and that's just a few of them. We've got even more, but that are leading in this field. They're leading in this research, and they are committed to financial planning. They're committed to what you are committed to. And so they're creating that environment where you're here to learn, and they're here to teach you, and they're here to help you through that. Student support. So, what we're doing tonight, we're here online. And so all of you you're from all over. I saw Colorado, I saw Florida, I saw DC, Baltimore. I'm seeing you guys, you're coming in from all over, and that's what you're going to see in your classes. You're coming from across the country, but you're still in an environment where you're going to get to learn from and with each other. Your instructors are creating that opportunity that, you'll be doing readings and assignments and quizzes, throughout your own time. So you'll still be able to set your own schedule throughout the week, but they're still going to be providing opportunities, usually with a weekly Zoom session that is optional. If you can't attend, it is highly encouraged. It'll be recorded if you can't make it, but it is optional. So there's still that opportunity every single week to engage with your instructor, engage with your classmates. We're hearing from students who, from those Zoom sessions, they're creating their own study groups. They're creating these opportunities outside of that set class time to learn again with and from each other. And so then they're getting to celebrate, moving through the program with their cohorts. When it comes time for graduation, they're getting to celebrate with each other, even though you might be at complete opposite ends of the country while you're doing the courses. So you heard me mention students are going through the program in a cohort. So you'll get to see each other through multiple classes, and, get to build that support system and continue leaning on each other. In terms of how the courses are set up, so all of our courses, they are obviously 100% online, and they're 8 weeks long each. So typically students are going to come in and they're going to take 2 courses in a semester, one at a time. So one for the first 8 weeks and one for the second 8 weeks. So you're still coming away with 6 graduate credits in a semester, but you're only having to focus on one course at a time. And so what you're doing, if you're following the master's program, that setup is allowing you to finish in right about 2 years. If you're in a hurry and want to do it faster, then set up a meeting with me. We'll talk about how to do that. But typically students are going to be able to come in and do the classes in 2 years. And again, that's one course at a time, with one course for each 8 weeks of a semester. You heard me mention before the live Zoom sessions once a week. So you're not doing this alone. If you have questions, or if your instructor is going to review some content, they'll do that each week, but they also will have some office hours available. That session will be recorded. So if you can't make it at the time it's offered, you can still play it back. Programs meet the educational requirements to sit for the CFP exam. So if CFP certification is your goal, those 6 courses that Martin described earlier, 18 credits, 6 courses, that is going to qualify you to sit for the CFP exam. So they are designed to cover those principal knowledge topic areas that CFP board assesses on their exam, that you'll keep learning through CE. But this program does meet the requirements for you to sit for the CFP exam. You'll see that K-State is also an educational partner with AFCPE. So if that's of interest to you as well, if that's the direction you're going, I know there's a lot of interest in the chat, financial therapy and that side of life, there is that partnership as well. Okay, so just kind of quickly reviewing through these because I know we've talked about them a little bit, but with the master's, so the total master's degree is going to be 30 credit hours or 10 courses. And so the way to graduate with that master's, you're going to pair two of the certificates together. So that could be the PFP grad certificate, 6 courses for 18 hours. And you compare that with the financial therapy graduate certificate, which in and of itself is 4 courses for 12 hours. So you put them together, you've got those 30. Again, the PFP covers those topics for CFP. So insurance, retirement, investments, tax, estate, and case studies. With the financial therapy, you're going to have an intro to financial therapy course, money and relationships, which students just absolutely love that class. They get so excited when they take it. We have such great reviews there. Applied behavioral finance, and then financial therapy theory and research. So that's one option that you can pair together. Another option would be to pair the PFP with the advanced planner, 4 courses, 12 credit hours, advanced estate, advanced retirement, advanced tax, and practice management. Now, if you're in the audience and you're already a CFP professional, so you're coming in and you don't need those 6 classes of PFP, you don't need to be eligible for the exam because praise the Lord, that's already behind you. And you're on, you're on to other parts of life. So if you need a different setup, then for you, if you're a CFP professional, you can pair financial therapy with advanced planner. That's going to take you to 24 credits. So that's 8 of your classes. And then you're going to pick 2 electives with that. So typically we're seeing our students take a leadership class, conflict resolution that is very, very well received, great feedback on conflict resolution. We have a great conflict resolution program here at K-State. There's a financial counseling class. There's some additional investments courses, or you could also take the case studies or the capstone class. So those would be the options for the electives if you're a CFP professional. All right, so FAQs, obviously a big concern for students is how much is this going to cost? So the current cost per credit hour is $6.35 So classes are 3 credits each. So under the current fee structure, that is what you can anticipate in the way of cost. Books are going to be separate. So you will be purchasing those separate from your tuition and fees. For the PFP classes, typically looking at money education books. So you can, be looking at Money Education's website, see what that might look like in terms of cost. For your other classes, you might see some different texts or even provided readings, depending on which course you're in. Scholarships or additional funding. So there won't be any available through our department, but you can still be looking at financial aid, any federal loans that may be available to you. Or outside grants or scholarships. We highly encourage you to look into what may be available out there. If you find some external sources, then absolutely go with those, and definitely encourage you to talk to your employer about any opportunities for tuition reimbursement. So that's what we're seeing in the way of students funding the program. And then the application process, I can't remember if we have a slide dedicated to this, so we may see it, we may not, but just to kind of quickly touch on what is required in the application for the programs. So I'm going to start with financial therapy, and then I'm going to extend into the other ones. So starting with financial therapy, to apply just for that certificate, you're going to upload your resume and a personal statement, and then your transcripts from any institution attended prior to this program. So, you went to a couple different undergrads, you transferred, anything like that. You're going to be uploading those to us, or if you've also done any prior graduate work. So uploading your unofficial transcripts are fine with your application. Once you're admitted, you'll send your officials over to the grad school. All right, so after financial therapy, every other application requires everything I just mentioned, as well as references. So you'll have 3 references that are going to fill out basically a scale, just kind of ranking you on a couple of items, basically speaking to your ability to succeed in graduate school. And then they'll also include a statement or a letter of recommendation. And I do see a question. I will get to that in just a moment. So again, so just to kind of review what those items were on the application. So as a resume, a personal statement. I've had students ask, how long does that need to be? Typically, I see students submitting about half a page to a page for their personal statement, just indicating, what your interest in this program is, what's drawing you to it, what do you want to do with it, why will you be successful? So anywhere from half page to a page, typically seeing. So resume, personal statement, unofficial transcripts, and references for all programs but financial therapy. And I see Martin coming off mute. Did you want to add to that, Martin?
Yeah, the one thing I would add, so we literally can't process an application until all 3 letters of recommendation are in. So you want good letters of recommendation, but you need people that are actually going to do it. So as you're thinking about that, you want people that can do good letters of recommendation, but don't go super fancy and go to people that you can rely on that are actually going to get it in time. That becomes our biggest hang up for students that are interested in starting. It's getting those 3 letters in.
Thanks, Martin. So yeah, that's a good point. And then one other trick of the trade that I will add, if you're already looking at the application, ready to get started, when your references are looking at the application, typically on a ranking scale, you'll usually go, lowest to highest, worst to best, whatever it may be, 0 to 5 stars. This scale is the opposite. So the highest ranking is on the left-hand side. So your takeaway from that, have your references pay close attention to those column headers when they're ranking you so that they say you're the best. Or if they want to say you're the best, but they're actually putting you on the right-hand side, it'll just look like the worst. So we don't want that. Final point on here, if we have anyone interested in the PhD program, the GRE or GMAT is only required for the doctoral program and not the master's program. If we want to just take a second, we have a couple of questions in the Q&A that have come in. So can non-advanced PFP master students add on an elective if they'd like? The answer is yes. So if you've seen all the classes that would be under your degree and more that you're interested in, we can absolutely tack those on if you're interested. It looks like the other one has already been answered, so I'm going to pause with that. So if you're interested, we'd love to get your application. If you have any follow-up questions, we can talk to you about that. But how to apply, you're just going to go to online.kstate.edu and click how to apply, and we will get you started from there.
So Morgan, a couple other questions that have come in. There's a question that I'll answer. So it says other personal financial planning programs, example, Texas, don't require GRG and REAT because they're possible cultural bias, where this requirement may be revisited in the future. So with that test, so we haven't reviewed it in a while. We could absolutely review that requirement. I will say we only view it as one element. So we've had people that have gotten in that have had extremely good GRE scores or GMAT scores, and those that have not had good GRE GMAT scores. And that is really only related to the PhD program. We're also evaluating that written requirement, the written papers, understanding their research interests. So we do not roll, that is not the holy grail of our admissions process at all. It's just one element. And frankly, Molly, if somebody who's going to do a PhD program with us, it's a measure of, are they serious about the work and effort that's going to go into that PhD program. So don't know if that helps, Molly, in terms of an answer. Abigail asked, is the one class per 8 weeks considered full-time? And Morgan, she may be asking from a student loan context.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a good question, Abigail. So, so looking at that, that would be 1 class per 8 weeks. So 6 credits for a semester, that is considered part-time. To be full-time at the grad level, it would be 9 hours or more. So looking at 3 classes per semester. So really good question if you're if you're possibly an athlete, if you're looking at financial aid requirements. Other students are looking at post 9/11 GI Bill, that also kind of plays into that. So again, 9 hours or more full-time for the grad level, 6 hours is part-time.
And Morgan, she did say specifically from a GI Bill context. Do you have a specific answer there?
Yes, absolutely. So with that one, there are some other considerations that come into play, Abigail. And I know this because I've been having a lot of conversations with the VA's office on campus this week. So with that, I would also say, if you want to go ahead and be talking to the VA at K-State, I can absolutely connect you with them. There still are opportunities for funding specifically related to GI Bill for under full-time, but there are some other kind of personal considerations that would go into that. So you can either email me and we can talk about it. I will still connect you with the VA because they're the experts, but they can go ahead and be having those conversations with you so that you know what you're looking at going into it.
And while I'm looking down, what I'm doing is getting an email. We have Derek Sensenig in here, who actually did our master's program on the GI Bill. So who better to talk to as you're learning more about talking to Derek, while also talking to Morgan, who's dealing directly with that. So Morgan, I'm going to look down for a minute and type in this email address as we move forward. While we're waiting for more questions, and please do ask anything, we will answer absolutely anything here. Morgan, how long, if I just want to do a certificate, how long will it take to do the individual certificates?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the certificates for classes, typically looking at 2 per semester. So you can be in and out in 2 semesters. It is not required to though. So for some students, they want to go a little bit faster. For some, they want to go a little bit slower, where one is, 1 per semester. If that is the case for you, that is okay. But typically, again, 2 per semester. So 4 classes, 2 semesters for each of those certificates that you saw, or rather the financial therapy and the advanced planner. The personal financial planning certificate, that one's going to take about 14 months, just based on when the courses are offered. So you would do 2 in the fall, 2 in the spring, 1 in the summer, and your last class in the fall.
And then there's a question, if you do 9 credit hours, how long does it take to complete the master's? So it is possible in a calendar year to finish the program, but there you're really doing 12, 12, 6. So if you're doing 9 credit hours, probably we have to make sure we can time it right, and Morgan can absolutely run out that program of study for a student. Probably it's 1.5 years at 9 credit hours a semester.
Yeah.
One thing to note is is it 6 to be full-time over the summer? Is that right, Morgan?
And one thing too, just like Dr. C just mentioned, that if any of you are, you're considering this and you want to look at that timeline, what's that going to look like for you? Email me, we can set up a meeting. I'm more than happy to create a sample graduation plan for any of you, because I know that everyone comes in with their own, unique goals and circumstances and timeline. And so I'm happy to work with you to build out a sample graduation plan, see what that might look like for you.
Brandon asked a question and Diane did a great job of answering it. So would out-of-state students have access to career services resources? And so I would say yes, KSU globally has great resources for you. But specifically, I think one of the attractive things at Kansas State is our faculty know everybody. So myself, I'm a past national president of the Financial Planning Association. I'm a current member of the CFP Board of Directors. Our network is wide and large. So pretty much anywhere or you want to work, we're going to have a direct contact or be one call away from a direct contact to the area. So I would highly recommend leveraging your faculty as you're trying to get started in your career. And we absolutely want to do that for you. I will put in by the end of the day or end of the night, I'll put in my Calendly link, and you'll have that the entire time you're in the program. And if you ever want to talk, all you got to do is put it in there, and you'll see that all of our faculty, for the most part, have those Calendly links in there where all you have to do is sign up for a time that fits with you.
And I would also just kind of expand on that to say access to career services and more. So, all K-State has just so many resources. You can't even name them all in one sitting, but the resources that are available, whether you're here in Manhattan on campus or an online student, a lot of them are being made available virtually. So whether that's, potentially tutoring if you need it, if it's the writing center, to get help with, graduate level writing, things like that, the resources that are here on campus are available to you as distance online students.
Looking for any more questions here. We want to make sure it's productive to you, but also I know you have busy lives, so I don't want to keep you too long. Morgan, is there any other common questions that you're getting?
Let's see. Timing would probably be a good one to end on. So if you're considering applying and you're thinking, okay, how much time do I have to do this? So with the classes being offered every 8 weeks, or rather, starting new every 8 weeks, that means that you have an opportunity to apply every 8 weeks. We do encourage submitting your application about 4 weeks before classes start, just to be on the safe side. It gives us time to review, it gives the graduate school time to review, and it also gives you time to get ready ahead of class starting. So the next set of classes are starting on October 17th. So right now that puts us just about 4 weeks out. That's okay. If you're still wanting to get in this fall, please go ahead and apply. We will still work with you in these weeks leading up to the next set of classes. Again, October 17th. Like Martin mentioned before, if you need references, make sure they're going to respond. That usually holds up the application the longest. If you aren't going to start this fall, but you want to start in the spring, then we would encourage applying probably before no later than early December. Obviously we have the holidays, things like that coming up. We would want to get you squared away sooner rather than later. But the spring semester would be the next opportunity to get classes started after October.
So there's a couple more questions in there, Morgan. So there's one related to the 8-week structure. So can you talk about a little bit, this question of you can do it free flow, but you just want to talk again about what the structure is for 8 weeks?
Yeah. So within those classes, the way I kind of describe it to students is that it's going to be asynchronous throughout the week. You know, you'll do your readings at your own time or watch your live lectures at your own, or recorded lectures at your own time. You know, you might do your quizzes in the morning or late at night, not necessarily set in that way, but it will be synchronous in that you'll have weekly deadlines. So, you know, you might have assignments due. I know one instructor has his on Thursdays, some have them on Sundays. You'll still have weekly deadlines. Again, recorded lectures, but the opportunity for the live weekly Zoom session. So if you can attend that, then your instructor may use that for some lectures or just to catch up, answer questions, things like that. So you'll still get to do the vast majority of things on your time, just with weekly deadlines, and you decide throughout the week when you're able to focus on that.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that we do those recorded lectures to help you, because we want that live time with a faculty member to really be about answering questions and then practice problems. So we've really gone to the model of a couple, hopefully shorter, hopefully 20 minutes apiece, recorded lectures so that you can get that content ahead of class. And your job is to come to class with an understanding of the material so that that can be created more in depth as you're there. But I would also say, look, you're busy people, you're going to travel, you're going to miss weeks, you're going to do whatever. And as long as you email ahead of time and communicate with your faculty, they're generally going to work with you. We understand everybody's working. We do want the default to be you're engaged actively, but sometimes it doesn't happen, and that's just fine. And we're used to that. Melissa asked,
sorry, just real quick before we move away from that. I just understood one other part of Abigail's question. I think asking, are the instructors going to kind of load in then the readings, assignments, everything on the front end of the class so that if you wanted to work ahead that you could, or is it going to depend on instructor? I think it's going to depend on your instructor, you know,
yes.
Whether or not they make it available to you to go ahead and start filling things in, that'll be contingent on your instructor. So sorry for missing out the first time, Abigail.
And so real quick on Melissa, and then I'll send Juan's question to you. So Melissa, the financial therapy is just a growing area. Usually it is attached to a discipline. Now, whether it's marriage and family therapy, whether it's counseling, whether it's financial planning, it exists all over. The pure financial therapy jobs are a bit of a challenge as it stands. But I would say the person that would know best in the country would be Megan McCoy, who I sent you to, who I think really, if you just Google Megan McCoy and financial therapy, interviews from all over the place will pop up. She's by far one of our biggest superstars here at Kansas State. And so she would be the one to help you on that. Morgan Juan asked, how much time per week do you think we should set aside per class at the master's level?
Mm-hmm. So this will depend a little bit on your own background. You know, obviously certain classes, if you are already working consistently in tax, maybe you're an EA or you have a tax background, obviously you'll spend a little less time maybe on tax, where maybe investments isn't your strongest area and you'll need to spend more. So you could absolutely see this fluctuate between classes. So that's why I give kind of the broader range of 10 to 20 hours per class, depending on your own background and familiarity with those areas. But as a good kind of average, I would budget about 12 to 15 hours looking into the class from the beginning. You know, plan to spend about 12 to 15 hours per week working on your classes. And then you may find that, again, some might be a little more challenging and need to give a little more time, or others are already areas you're comfortable with and you might get to spend a little less time.
Thanks, Morgan. Any last questions or thoughts from the group? Really appreciate all the good questions. And once again, appreciate you spending some time with us tonight. Morgan, I think we've gone over all the top of mind things for me. Anything else for you?
The only thing I would just reiterate is that if you want to continue this conversation, you can set up a meeting with me. If you want to see a sample graduation plan, I'm more than happy to set that up for you. I put my Calendly link in the chat as well. And I think our email addresses will be at the end of the presentation, so you'll get to see those again. So please reach out. I am the advisor for the graduate program. So if you come join us, we're going to be talking quite a bit. I'm here to support you through the program, help you out with anything you need, and just be a resource for you here within the university, no matter what area of the country you're coming from. When I was a K-State student, I was coming from Washington, D.C. and still did it from far away. So I understand what that's like, and just here to be a resource to all of you. So, and just like Martin said, thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
And the last thing I would add is, hey guys, glad to have you. If you have any questions about technical applications or anything related to process, that's absolutely Morgan. I do not have those answers. If you ask me, I'll send it to her. If you have questions about the industry, jobs, anything about how the content would tie into the industry, I'm absolutely your person there. You can absolutely ask me. So as you move forward, just want to let you know sort of where our specializations were. But with that, I want to say thank you one last time. We appreciate having you here. Please do follow up with any questions or concerns. That is the norm. That is not outside to ask questions as we get you there. So thank you for coming, and we hope to hear more from you. And with that, I'll turn it over to Diane.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. C. and Morgan, for that wonderful presentation. And I also want to thank everyone for joining us here tonight. If you are ready to apply, please visit our website at online.ksu.edu and select how to apply for detailed instructions. As a reminder, everyone who has registered for this webinar will be receiving a recording via email as soon as it's available. Finally, if you have any additional questions that we didn't cover tonight, please don't hesitate to reach out. We also want to be sure and let everyone know that we do have application fee waivers available, specifically to those applying to the master's degree for the upcoming spring semester. So feel free to reach out to us at online@ksu.edu when you are ready to apply, and we would be happy to provide you with a code. Thanks again, and hope you all have a great night.